Let's start this show in three, two, one. Welcome everybody to Geekvice, episode 269, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening, my peeps.
We've been gone for a couple weeks, which is a little weird, because it's been a lot, I feel like we've been gone for a lot longer than 2 weeks, but it is, we only missed 1 week, guys. We only missed 1 week, really. But man, these last 2 weeks have been crazy. What have you done these last 2 weeks? Fixed a faucet?
Well, that was a story. Holy cow. So, not too far in the distant past, was washing dishes and the floor was just getting wet. And it's like, I'm not that sloppy, I don't think. So I started looking and I saw that there was a leak. And I paid more attention to it, and I could tell it was kind of coming down the wall above the drain pipe. It's like, oh crap. And our faucet had been kind of leaking at the handle. So I thought, well, it's finally just totally lost it. So went and bought a new kitchen faucet. Installing a kitchen faucet is not that hard. Removing the old faucet, freaking nightmare.
You would think demo would be the easy part.
Well, you would think. So, first of all, you have to get under the sink and remove everything. It was basically what they call a 2-hole faucet.
Okay.
There was one hole with just a handle, and the other part was the actual spout.
Yeah, the little
I guess
sprayer.
you'd call it.
Okay.
Well, the spout that hooked in had this 1.5-inch nut that was flush against the bottom of the sink. So, because of all the water lines and everything going to it, and because of the bowl of the actual sink being in the way, you can't get a wrench on it. And I started this at night like an idiot. And it started off to turn the water off to the faucet so I could remove it. The valves wouldn't close. Oh. So I had to go and get a new valve, shut all the water off to the house, replace the valves. Got that all done, started to look at getting the faucet removed, could not do it. It's like, oh crap, this is something I better sleep on. So, of course, did not sleep worth a darn, but I did figure out how to do it. And, enough time thinking about it. And that was, I have a monkey wrench. Mm-hmm. I can just, from above, twist the faucet enough that it will unscrew itself.
Yeah.
And that actually did work.
Oh, nice.
So I was pretty proud of myself. So the next morning I called in to work and said, you know what? I will come in once I get this sink replaced, this faucet replaced. They're like, okay, great. So I got everything taken apart, got the new stuff put on. The way they plumbed where the valves are and everything is way down close to the bottom of the cabinet. They do not make water supply lines that long.
Oh, no.
So I got everything into place, was about that much too short on water line. So back to the hardware store, got some extensions, got all that hooked up, turned on the water, everything's great. Turn on the sink, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. And then it started leaking again. It's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I was like, I guess it wasn't the faucet. So I start looking at it and I realized our sink had been draining really slow. So there's a plug clog in there somewhere. And then it dawned on me what it was doing was filling up with water until it got to the vent tube and then just overflowing.
Oh man.
So it's like, all right, I've got a drain snake. I can take care of this. So I pull everything apart so I can get a snake in there, and I actually find a clog and I break through it and all this stuff. And then I go to put the drain back together and my garbage disposal fell.
Oh no.
Well, I had replaced my garbage disposal, I don't know, 6 months ago, but it was the same brand and everything. So I used the old hardware and I could not get this thing back on. So I had to go find the new hardware that I didn't use in the garage and replace all the hardware, put the thing back up. Got that all done. It's like awesome. Got everything going. Turned on the water, still a leak. So took the drain pipe apart again, ran the snake through, probably went 10 feet in, found another clog, could not break it.
Oh man.
So I had to call like a Roto-Rooter kind of place. They came out. He argued with me on what it actually was. Like, no, just snake it. I guarantee you it's going to work. And he's like, all right, we'll snake it. And then we'll talk about what's really wrong with it. It's like, okay. So he snaked it, broke it through, put everything back together. No leak. So at least I got that part right. So got all that put back together. He left.
What did the
Uh,
what did the
I,
plumber guy say to you like when he actually broke through and there was no problems? Like did he look at you and go, "Well, I guess you were right."
he still is like, the vent pipe probably goes all the way to the roof, so there's probably a problem there. And it's like, no, because if it goes to the roof, it would have to go through my window. He's like, yeah, but it could go around that. It's like, yeah, it could, but that's not the way this house is built. I know this because I had a problem with the drain pipe a while ago and I saw how the whole thing worked. So we had this big long conversation about it. And then he finally, you know, I'm not taking anything away from him. He actually did a really good job. I would recommend this company, but he was looking out for it because if there was actually a crack in the pipe, we could be leaking methane into our house. So he was
Sure.
looking out for that, but that wasn't the problem. So got it all done. I was exhausted. We had dishes in the sink that I couldn't do because of all this other stuff. It's like, I'll just deal with it another time. By this time, it's 5 o'clock. I missed the whole day of work. So, and then I wrote you, said I can't podcast. I'm too tired. Now you know why I was so tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I finally got around to washing those dishes on Saturday morning. Started washing the dishes, looked down, water on the floor. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh.
But this time I opened it up and looked and went, oh, the connection to the drain pipe to the strainer side of the sink, that's where this leak is. I just need to tighten that down and we're good. No, it's stripped. It wouldn't tighten down.
Ah.
So I had to go back to Lowe's, buy some more, buy a length of pipe, got that all in there, got it all tightened up. Now it does not leak. No more leaks.
Hey, there you go.
It's
That
all
you at least
completely
got that going
fixed.
for you.
But it took about 7 trips to Lowe's, having the Roto-Rooter guy come out, replacing valves I didn't know I needed to replace, reinstalling my garbage disposal that I didn't know I needed to do. $500 later, no leak.
For those of you just listening to the podcast, you are not getting the joys of watching Kip just with this grin on his face of like, damn me, screw all of this, and just shaking his head. Yeah, you know what? Right there with you.
Yeah. So the cuts and everything on my hands have finally healed. The muscles are no longer sore, but holy cow, I hope I never have to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I never have to deal with that. That sounds like a pain in the ass. Oh man, yeah. Now that explains a lot. So there you go, everybody. That's why there was no Geekvice last week, cause Kip was rebuilding a sink, like literally all of it by hand. You might as well molded the thing too. Like, sure, I'm just
Oh
gonna.
man, I should have just retiled the kitchen floor and put in new cabinets. I mean, I practically took everything else apart.
Right? Jeez. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't have anything like that last week. I did have the craziest, busiest weekend I ever have really had, or at least have had in a long time. This last weekend, Friday, we had our. I took my day off, took a day off of work, and decided to help out with the elementary school walkathon, which is their big fundraiser. That my youngest son is still at the elementary school. My older son is off to middle school now. But the younger son's still there, and it's something my wife and I have done for the last 3 or 4 years now, and had a lot of fun. That was a blast. But man, that's a long day. We're outside, and last Friday was warm. Like it was hot. It was hot and humid, and so we're out at the track at about 8 o'clock in the morning, setting stuff up, and we didn't leave the track until about 3 o'clock. We started packing stuff up, or I guess 3 o'clock. About 2:45, we started packing stuff up, and about 3 o'clock, we were able to get out of there. Um, then picked my kids up from school, like got my kids, and my wife and I went back to the house, changed our clothes real quick, and immediately had to go out to a soccer game. Had two soccer games on Friday night. One of them was at 5 o'clock. That was one my youngest son, and that's the team I coach. So after yelling at kids running around the track, yelling at them's harsh. Cheering them on, it's a lot of "come on, you can do it, keep going, don't give up." A lot of that stuff, loud. For any of you that have met me in person, I'm a loud person anyway, and so I'm very boisterous and especially when I'm cheering people on. So that was loud. Then I go to do a soccer game, and of course, as a coach, you have to yell. So I'm yelling at the kids out there, cheering them on. The kids played great. It was the best game they've ever played. So it was super awesome. And um, we ended up tying, but we were playing a team that was better than us, and we definitely surprised that team, and that was great. That was a good feeling. We get done with that game, and my older son's had a game at 6:15. So first game was at 5, second game at 6:15. So they had to run straight from. My wife took him over. Luckily, it was at the same complex, so they just had to move a few fields over to get to his game. So he runs off to go do that with my wife, and I'm packing stuff off, talking with some of the parents, and all of a sudden I see lightning out of the corner of my eye, and over the intercom they come and say, the 6:15 games have been postponed. Like, everyone needs to, due to lightning, everyone needs to leave the fields and go to your car. Like, there's not a, there's not a cloud in the sky. There's no rain coming down right now. It's like, looks like a beautiful night. Temperature's great. I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I grab my younger son. We go get the car. We move the car closer to my older son's field. I'm calling my wife, like, hey, I'm trying to find a parking spot. We'll load you guys up. We'll get in the car. I'm going to guess it's going to start storming anytime now. There's lightning, right? Uh, no, no, no storm, no rain. There was all kinds of stuff around us, and eventually it rained, but just lightning. Can't play on a soccer field in lightning, so they cancel his game, and we decide, you know what? Hey, we're up here. It's up in Wyandotte County, and uh, we're like, hey, there's a Jazz Louisiana kitchen right over here. Let's go to dinner at Jazz. So we're like, well, there's a group of about 11 of us that we're going to go. And like, oh, 11 people, we should definitely call ahead, make
Oh
sure it's
yeah, you should
okay.
definitely call ahead with that many
Yeah,
people.
right? Like, let's not be that group of people that just show up and say, hey, can we get in for 11? So we were nice. We called ahead. We're like, hey, we are less than 10 minutes away. All we have to do is cross 470 or 435, and we are there. And she's like, great, we've got room. Come on over. Okay, we head on over. We get there, we're in 3 different cars. One group gets there before us, and we all get there. We go in to sit down, and we're like, yeah, all right, we should have our table. They said it'd be no problem. We get there. Yeah, table's not ready yet. No, don't have a table for 11 yet. We're just waiting for this one group to leave. Once they leave, we got a table for them. Great. Probably like, 10, 20, 30 minutes. No, no. How about an hour later? We're sitting there. We finally get our table. Like, we're getting to the point now where I'm sitting there. I didn't eat lunch. I had barely eaten breakfast. And now I'm sitting there going, I'm just freaking starving because I was going to eat a sandwich during my other son's game, but I didn't because we're going to go to Jazz. So I'm sitting there starting to get hangry. Finally, finally we get sat down, and then the waiter he's like, I'm going to drop this check off real quick, and then I'm come back to get your drink order. Great. Okay. Shouldn't take very long. Like 20 minutes later, he shows back up. All right, what would you guys like to drink? Like, we're ready to order food too. Can we just go ahead and do that too? He's like, well, let's just get your drinks first, and then I'll get that put in, get them start making those, and then we'll do the food order. Okay. Put our drink order in. Everybody orders a drink. Everyone gets waters too. Another 20 minutes goes by. He finally shows back up to like, brings like the waters out, but none of the other drinks. They're
Jeez.
like, dude, what the hell's going on? Can we order our food now? He's like, yeah, let's get your food order. Like, man, luckily the food did not take that long to get, but it took forever to get our drinks. Like water, and then a couple like alcoholic beverages for the adults, soda for the kids. Like, shouldn't have been that complicated. Man, the food was amazing. I love Cajun food. I love Jazz. I will never say anything bad about Jazz, but for God's sakes, it took forever. Um, it, yeah, that was just Friday night. So by the time we got home, it was we got home about 9:30, and I'm just sitting there going, man, we have been on the run since 7:45 that morning when we left to take the kids to school. I have been home for a total of 10 minutes to change my clothes. Like, I'm exhausted. Like, I just got to be done. And then we had to turn around and get back up Saturday morning to go to more soccer games because my older son was in a soccer tournament. Which we knew that the weather was not going to cooperate all the time. We're probably going to miss some stuff. We did end up missing one game, but that made for a really long Saturday. The downside to missing that game was that they tried to get the game in. So while they had canceled the 2 games before us, they say, no, we're going to get this 5 o'clock game in. Come on out. We're going to get it going. I'm like, great. Get the kids out there. It's only sprinkling a little bit. I've got an umbrella. I'm standing on the sideline just watching the game. They play for a total of 10 minutes of an hour-long game. They play 10 minutes of it. Lightning strikes. They said, everybody get off the field. We're done. We're canceling the game. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. These kids have been standing out here in the rain, like, trying to play this because you tried to shove it in, and you're going to, like, you should have just called it before, and then we wouldn't have even had to go out there. We would have been dry. Like, oh, man. But it was a fun weekend, really busy. 5 soccer games in 3 days, um, along
2
with,
rain outs or
yeah,
lightning outs.
yeah, 2 lightning outs. The just a crazy amount of time. We were supposed to have a beer festival on Saturday night as well. That got canceled because of the weather. So instead, we just sat in a garage and drank beers, which was nice. And then Sunday, by the time we were done with games on Sunday, we went home and we just like sat. Like we not doing anything. We just laid and watched football all day, the rest of the day. So
Sounds perfect. That part sounds perfect.
yeah, right.
This
So
weather seems like you can't plan any outside activities. It's just you just never know what we're going to get right now.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, well, and just like tonight, I mean, we got a bunch of storms that rolled through here tonight, and so yeah, uh it's been crazy. It's been a crazy couple weeks. We've been busy with stuff, and on top of all of that, my phone has been blowing up by political activists. When did they get my phone number, and how do I get off their list? That's what I want to know.
Well, whatever you do, do not put yourself on the no call list because I did, and then they increased like tenfold.
See, I've been on the no call list since the first introduction of the no call list. I thought maybe my number had just like I need to put it back on there, re up on it. I don't know, but yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's not telemarketers. That I don't have a problem with telemarketers calling me. They don't call my phone, but I get political like groups. This is the Republican Party calling to tell you that the Democrats are ruining the world and you should join us. Or I get the Democrats sending me text messages saying the Republicans are destroying everything. Join us. Like, what the hell, people? When did this become such a thing? Like, why are you recruiting people? Why the hell does it even matter which side I'm on? Because I'm going to vote against both of you. I think you all suck. Politics is terrible. There's nothing good about it. It's worse than organized religion. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a
So,
different podcast.
but man, oh man, oh man, it's just been crazy. So,
Well, I'm sorry about all the lightning and stuff that you had to deal with, and now just like the weather, I can't do anything about the political phone calls either. But
right. Yeah.
yeah,
As soon as somebody can
but
figure out, hey, if there's anybody out there that knows how to get those people to stop calling me, stop sending me text messages, let me know. I've blocked their numbers and put them on my leave me the hell alone list. So hopefully I start getting less and less of them.
wouldn't that be nice?
Maybe we just have to get past November. I don't know. Who knows? But we got some other cool things we've been doing. So long period has gone by, and I want to talk about this Dark Crystal Netflix show. The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, the prequel to the original Dark Crystal movie by um, Jim Henson Entertainment. If you are a fan of the Dark Crystal, the original one from what was that? The 70s, late 70s, early 80s,
Early '80s.
early 80s. Um, if you were a fan of that, you would definitely be a fan of this show. I thought it fit really well in that vein. Now, it's been a long time. I haven't seen the Dark Crystal in 20 plus years. But the it watching this prequel makes me want to go find. I actually don't own the Dark Crystal on anything that I can play it, so I need to go find a digital version of the Dark Crystal so that I can watch it because I really want to go back and watch it now. The Netflix show did a really good job of early on. You felt like you were watching puppets but within the first episode and a half, you forget that you're watching. Like, they do such a good job of meshing the puppetry with CGI that it makes you like you almost forget that you're watching puppets. There were moments when you're watching it and you're going like I just completely forgot about it, and then there would be a certain movement or something that they would do that you're like, oh yeah, that's a puppet. Like, man, like this is just it's just that good. Really, really impressive. The story was really good. It just brought back all those memories and feelings of watching the original Dark Crystal, and so I highly recommend that Netflix show for anyone out there that is a fan.
Yeah, and they did such a good job with everything. I mean, the Skeksis. I remember watching that Dark Crystal movie as a kid. Those Skeksis kind of freaked me out.
Oh
They
yeah,
still are pretty freaky.
yeah,
And and the one Skeksis that goes all the time nailed it on the TV show version.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, it was almost like 30 years has not passed, and they just went from one to the other, except for, like you said, the CGI and the puppetry just improved so much that you forget
yeah,
that that's
yeah.
what you're watching.
Well, and there's they didn't, the CGI isn't crazy. Like, there's not huge amounts of it. It's just little things here and there that just enhance
Right.
the puppetry of it, and that's the really to me that's the really cool part is that it's little things like I had read something that they used CGI on the Skeksis' tongues. Like, those were done with CGI, so there's some times where their tongue is just like almost like licking their lips or like flipping around. That's CGI, but you look at it and you're like, you can't tell that the blending between those is so good. You're just like, dang, that is impressive. That really, really good job. I heard that so in the original one, everything that moved was puppetry. So there was like even the scenery and everything like that was puppetry. Anytime you saw a leaf move, that's somebody moving it. Well, in this prequel, from what I had read, a lot of the background stuff was done with CGI, the movement and stuff like that. So it was really, really cool with how they did it. Even if you're not a fan of the Dark Crystal, like if you've never seen that you can watch this prequel and be just fine. Like,
Yeah.
if anything, it might make you want to go watch the Dark Crystal. And for me personally, I love it because I'm just waiting to sit down and show this to my kids. They need to be a little bit older. It is not a happy-go-lucky story. It's dark and a little disturbing, and just like the original movie. So I'll wait for them to get a little bit older, but I'm excited to have them watch this and then be able to show them something from 30 plus years ago and say, hey, now look at this, and just help introduce and carry on this cult classic that is the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, maybe you'll even have to end up buying the board game.
There's a board game?
Yeah. Came
Oh,
out last year. Or earlier,
really?
maybe earlier this year.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm looking it up. I gotta see this. Ooh.
Yes,
All
tune
right.
in as Kip makes Morph spend more money.
Yeah, money I don't have. Um, River Horse, huh? By River Horse? Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal board game. Well, this looks cool.
Yeah. One more
Oh.
thing about the Dark Crystal. Um, have you seen the Godzilla King of Monsters movie yet?
I have not. No.
Well, anybody who has, rewatch the scenes with Rodan and tell me Rodan does not look like a Skeksis in the face.
I have seen those pictures.
He
Yes,
totally looks like a Skeksis, and I love watching
absolutely.
that. And we're in a theater, and I just wanted to yell out Skeksis, but I
Right?
couldn't. So, but
Oh man, this is really cool. Oh, and those miniatures, man. Wow.
tell your wife I'm sorry for introducing you to this game.
I haven't even looked at the price yet. That's probably, I
It's
probably,
the same as any other board
it's
game.
like what, $50?
Yeah.
That's not all bad. Oh no, you can get it $28 on Amazon. So there you go, even better. Was $50. Now you can get it for 22, 21, 21 39.
Oh, it's dropped quite a bit.
Yeah. This is a team semi-cooperative board game. Area movement, cooperative game, dice rolling, time track. It looks a lot like something like almost like a Mice and Mystics uh, type
Yeah, with
thing.
the way the miniatures and everything
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah. Man, that
Yeah.
board and the wow, those are cool. Yeah, I might have to might see if I can get a hold of this here.
There you go.
I like me some Dark Crystal.
There,
Oh,
that way you can introduce it to your boys in the less scary fashion.
right. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, what is this? You're still watching Acorn, aren't you? Acorn
Acorn
TV.
TV, my best friend. So we found a few shows we really like, but I want to talk about one that um, I think I think it's 3 seasons total, and that's that. It told the story. It's done. It's not going to do any more that I can tell. And it's called No Offense. And it takes place in North England, I think, maybe Ireland. I don't know. Wherever this town is they're in, everybody sounds Irish to me, so it may be in Ireland. But
Okay.
when you first watch the show, the first episode, you're like, okay, this woman's the main character. This woman is the antagonist. Okay, I got it. And then by the time you get about the third episode in, you're like, wait a minute. The show is really about the antagonist, and she's awesome now. And this other one we thought was the main character is like the co-main character. Is just it just kind of tricked me, I guess is the best way to put it. First episode, one of the detectives just get fired. His name's Kenny. You're like, well, we'll never see Kenny again. Nope. She brings him back. He's in for the entire run. So, it's a crime drama. I think each episode is an hour, hour and a half. I think it's an hour and a half. Um, Basically, it's about this team who's led by this woman. They call her name is Vivian. Can't remember her last name. They just call her Viv the whole time, and she's kind of like the main character. She's the DCI, whatever they call their head, the big cheese there, and she's got her sergeants and the other detectives. They actually have uniformed police officers, two of them that have main roles. Usually, a detective story on British TV, it's about the detectives, and the uniformed officers are nameless people in the background or somebody they give orders to. This one actually has two or three that they actually are main characters, which is pretty cool. Being a procedural, it's nice to see um, each level of the hierarchy of a police station get its chance to shine. Excuse me. Um, they solve there's obviously the mystery of the week kind of a deal, but what I like about it more than I thought I would, or what sets it apart from other shows, is they kind of come together, almost backdoor channels sometimes to get things accomplished, and they come up with almost Scooby Gang kind of plans to capture some people. The last season especially, there's a very powerful figure who ends up being um, I don't want to give too much away, but they have to fight against this high ranking official who's really wanting to just shut them all down and put her own people in there. And they've kind of Scooby Gang everything to capture the bad guy to kind of save all their jobs and all this other stuff. Um, don't get me wrong when I say Scooby Gang, the show is not a comedy. It can get a little dark in places, but it has just enough lightheartedness to balance that out. But with all that said, it's one of those, these people are smarter than everybody else, kind of maneuvering these plans they come up with to trap people into confessing for their crimes and all this other stuff is brilliant. I just love the twists and turns. They will surprise you with the way some of the season 3 will blow you away. It just kind of breaks all the things you think a TV show like that would do, and it breaks them. Highly recommend watching all 3 seasons of this. It's just phenomenal.
Very cool. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like I was kind of reading the plot a little bit and some of the stuff on the wiki. The Paul Abbott, who is the creator of this, has actually stated in an interview that he's begun working on ideas for a potential 4th season.
Oh, that
Uh,
would be fantastic.
so there
Yeah,
might
when
be
I
another
looked on
one.
IMDb, if there is going to be a 4th season or something, it'll have the 4th season listed, but there'll be nothing there. No,
Right.
this one just had 3 seasons in it, so I just assumed it was done. But
Yeah,
be great
now.
if there's a 4th.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's Wikipedia, so and this was well, this was October of last year when he had this interview. Uh, so I mean, it could be that he just hasn't found somebody to do it yet. But with the cool thing with the British stuff is they have no problems just taking it. If it takes a couple years and put another one out, they'll do it, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, they don't feel the pressures, I think, that American producers feel,
Yeah,
to put out 23 episodes a year and run the show into the ground kind of thing. So
right. Yeah, this has got 3 seasons and 21 episodes. So first season has 8, second has 7, third has 6. So that's
yeah, yeah, and there's some people in there occasionally that you'll recognize. Um, the guy who plays basically um, I guess the forensic doctor, whatever they're called, the guy who does the autopsies and everything. His name is Paul Ritter in real
yeah.
life. His character's name is Miller. He's so quirky and weird that it's awesome. And you're watching this going, I've seen that guy. I know I have. He was in Chernobyl. If you saw Chernobyl, he played and Dyatlov, the guy who was the head of the shift that caused the explosion and was completely convinced that the core didn't blow up. That's the same guy. Um,
He was also in Quantum of Solace,
yeah,
James Bond movie. He was in Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince.
yeah,
Yeah, he's been in a lot of things. So
yeah. And he's just one of those characters. You don't know his name, and then you see him on screen. It's like, I know I've seen that guy and stuff. His face is just one of those faces. You're like, yeah, I've seen this guy. And yes, you have. You just listed all this stuff. I mean, and we were
yeah,
watching another uh, show on Acorn TV called Vera, which is another cop show, and he was playing not Miller, but again another coroner, in that
That's
show. So it's like, well, he found his niche, I guess. But
right.
he's phenomenal. Um, Probably the most beautiful woman on TV is on this show.
Oh, really?
Her, her character, his name is PC Tegan Thompson. The picture on IMDb does not do her justice. Watch the TV show. This girl is gorgeous. Her name is I guess Sarah Chowdhury.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
It's probably Indian or something like that. So I butchered it, but ooh, she's gorgeous. And her part, she's a uniformed cop. Her part is pretty big in the show. In fact, it's a huge thing in the third season.
Cool.
So there's not a wasted character.
That's cool.
I really dig this show, and I'm pretty happy if they do come up with a fourth season of this would be phenomenal.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Sounds cool. I'm
Yeah, I
in.
liked it quite a bit. I love British TV anyway. His listeners maybe watch it and go, well, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But because I love British TV, this really worked. The town they're in is Manchester. So
There you go.
Manchester, I do believe, is in England. It's not an
Yeah.
Irish town,
Nope.
isn't it?
Nope. It's
Correct?
in England. It's up near
Yeah,
Liverpool.
yeah. But they sound very Irish. But
Very cool.
that's either here nor there. They just, yeah, it works.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, this wouldn't be Geekvice if we didn't talk about a board game. And any of you that follow our Facebook page saw a post that I had made about a board game that I got to test out that is not out to market yet. It has not been published. The game is called Brimstone Valley. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Just look for Brimstone Valley, or you can head over to our Facebook page and I tagged them in the post, and they'll be in the notes for this as well. This is a very, very cool game. It's a guy that I work with and a couple of friends of his that have created this game, and they have created this from scratch. And as far as I can tell, there are no games like this. This is not a miniature game, so it's not a game like Warhammer or something like that where you have miniatures battling each other. In this case, this is very similar. When I played it, the first thing that popped into my head was League of Legends or Dota, something like that in a video game sense. So you have these characters, you have this huge list of characters that people can pick from to play as, and in the video game world, these are MOBAs, massive online battle arenas. So you can have lots of players playing at once, battling each other. That's kind of what this board game is, and the way it works is that there is they're working on the base game, which will have 30 cards in it, and these cards are characters. They're different characters like thief or barbarian, paladin, fire mage, poison mage, uh, all kinds of cool things like that. Those are some of them that we played as or that we had. Also have an angel, priest, werewolf, and each one of these characters have 3 different abilities that they have. They have a top ability, a middle ability, and a bottom ability. And this is kind of the cool thing. When you set up this game, in front of you, you get a 3x3 grid of these are the spaces at which you can put characters. You can move them around. At certain times, you're allowed to move them around, but where you place them on the board is going to dictate what ability they are going to cast on their turn. which I thought was really kind of cool because it required an extra level of strategy that you don't get in some games like this, where it's just like, oh, well, I have this guy and he can do either this move, or this move. I get to choose which one he wants to do. Well, this one you kind of get to choose, but you also kind of have to, where you place him on the board decides that.
Okay.
If you place him in the bottom row, he will do his bottom ability. If you put him in the middle row, he does his middle ability. You put him in the top row, he does his top ability. They each thing has only a certain number of times they can do it. So the stronger the ability, the more powerful it is, the fewer times you can do it. Also, the more energy it costs to cast or do or perform. So it's really kind of cool, and it gives you that layer of strategy of how do you want to use your characters to attack. And here's the interesting part. Much like a MOBA, if anyone has played one of those, the list of characters that you can pick from is huge. In this case, there's 30 of them spread out on the board.
Nice.
You get to pick one, your opponent gets to pick one. You get to pick up to, you can have 7 on your team, 5 of them on your board and 2 of them on your bench per se, that you can bring in if you need to. But so you're saying, oh, well, between 30 characters, that's a lot of characters. That's a lot of characters. And you only have 7, and you're playing against another guy that has 7. That's only 14 characters. What about all the rest of these? Well, that's the cool part. Is while you're taking turns drafting your characters, you also get a turn to basically eliminate characters as well. So from your different characters you can draft from, you can also say, you know what? I see that you're trying to go for this skill, and you're going to want to use this guy and this guy and this guy together to perform a powerful combo attack. Well, I'm going to veto this character. Nobody can have him. So you don't have to take him to stop somebody else's strategy, which I thought was really kind of cool. I like that idea. Being able to almost anticipate what your opponent's going to do. You can combat his strategy with a strategy of your own if you need to, but you could also eliminate his ability to pick up a strategy by just removing characters from the board altogether. Thought that was a very interesting. It worked
Yeah, it
out.
is. Yeah.
I haven't really seen that in a board game before, so I thought that was really cool. Now, once you've completed and you've drafted your board, you have your characters on your board, you've got your 2 people on the bench. They've made all of these parts with their own 3D printer in a basement. Really impressive. Really kind of cool with the way they've put this thing together. You have little dials that keep track of that you can set up to the stats for your character's card, which have the stats are health, armor, speed, and energy. Those are their stats. Some characters start with energy. Most of them start at 0 energy. They all have a speed, which depending upon kind of like your speed comes in handy because that applies directly to how much energy you get each turn. So a higher speed means you get more energy. You need more energy to cast larger spells or perform larger actions. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Armor is important because armor subtracts from the amount of damage that you can take. If I have a 3 armor character and I'm attacked for 5 points, I only take 2 points of damage. I take 5 minus 3, so I take 2 points of damage. High armor characters can last a long time because they can take a lot of hits. Definitely can play into strategy. Mages have very low armor and low hit points, so they're very squishy. The normal tropey stuff. It's everything you would expect in the characters. Really kind of cool in using some of these characters with high armor to kind of protect and set them around your guys so that you can kind of protect your mages from different attacks that your opponent can try to pull off. Just a whole nother level of it, which is really cool. There's a Berserker card that I actually got to play on my team when I played this, and I used him. I don't think that Berserker attacked a single time. I used it specifically because he was going to try to attack one of my mages that was sitting in the back row building up energy so that it could like cast this huge ice blast that was going to attack the whole board. And I was like, I need to protect him, so I set my Berserker next to him that has 13 health, the highest health of any of the characters that we had to pick from, but he also had 0 armor. And so it was fun, like, putting him there, and just, he never attacked. He literally just sat there and soaked up damage. He couldn't get through my Berserker and before my wizard could get off my ice mage could get off his big attack. Really, really great strategies, and you could play different things at different spots. So it's really kind of cool. So in this, they've worked it out. They've really balanced it on how you can go first, who gets to go first. It's a simple, once you've drafted everything, it's a simple, each character on your board gains the amount of energy equal to their speed. Whoever has the most energy, everybody gains energy at the same time, everybody gains it all up. Whoever has the most energy between any of the characters, that's the one that goes first. Simple. So it's, you go through, hey, how many do you have? I've got a guy that has 6 energy. Do you have a guy that has more than 6? Yes, they get to go first. Just that character, though. And then, who goes next? It's who has, you had 7. Now, you've got somebody that's 6. I've got somebody that's 6. There's a tiebreaker rule to see who gets to go first. They call it book reading order. So you start at the upper left corner, and you read through your stuff like you're reading a book. The first person that gets to their 6 or their tied characters would get to go next. And you go back, and so then it's back and forth. So you could, if you set your board up, depending on the characters that you have, you could end up going, I think there was one point where I went three times before he even got to go once, because I had enough guys that had collected high enough energy that they got to go. I got to attack him 3 times before he was able to even go once, which I thought was that adds a whole nother layer to your strategy of which characters you're going to have where you're going to use them at. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is it's really hard to sandbag. Actually, it's pretty impossible to sandbag. If your character has enough energy to perform the ability that they are supposed to perform, they have to perform that ability. So it doesn't allow you to just sit back. You have to pay attention to where your character is on the board and use that to your advantage. So you move him farther back, or you move him to a point where the ability he needs to do costs really high energy. Well, he's just going to sit there and collect energy then until he can go. But once maybe you get part of the way up and you realize, oh, I need to move him up farther and use this lower energy cost ability. Well, now he can actually do that ability 2 and 3 times. So, different strategies on how you can move your characters around. To finish out a turn after every character has gone, then it becomes then you get to rearrange your characters. So you can move 2 characters. You can swap their places on the board, move them from the front row to the back row, or move a character from your 3x3 grid to the bench and move one of your characters from the bench back on, like onto the field, so that they can get a turn. Really kind of a cool idea. Um, First player that loses all their characters on the field in their 3x3 grid loses. Simple as that.
Sounds pretty interesting.
This was, when he tried to explain this to me and he was talking to me about it, I was a little like, that sounds interesting, but it sounds overly complicated. And then we sat down and played. This game is simple. It is not complicated. I could teach this to my 7-year-old right now, and he would get it. He would be able to play this game. What he might not excel at is the level of strategy and the depth of this game. He's going to be able to play it at face value and like, I want this guy to attack and I want him to do this, so I'm going to put him here. And he's going to get to do that. But can he counter can he use the depth of strategy and the different characters in combination with each other to be able to perform massive attacks or to counter the things that I'm going to try to do to him? That's the level, that is what this game provides, that until you get down and start playing it, you're not going to see it. At the surface level, it looks like a fairly complicated game. You start playing it, this game is easy to learn, complicated to master. How about that?
Those are my favorite. When they're easy to learn, but doesn't mean the game is easy. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, easy. This, they were trying to explain like where he thought this fit within, it's like trying to play Catan with all the different expansions. That's fairly complicated. I would say this game could definitely be a gateway game for people who like this type of style. People who like battle arena type video games, fighter video games. This game would be right down their alley. This game could be played if you wanted to get somebody into board games and they enjoyed playing things like Mortal Kombat or Dota or uh, things where you're trying to figure out your skills. Hell, World of Warcraft even, where you're trying to balance a party and trying to attack the other person. This game could be a gateway for people that aren't sure they want to get into board games. This type of game would be right, like I think it would be perfect for them. And it's simple enough to learn, has enough strategy and depth that you could play this over and over again without having the same game twice. The replayability is incredible, and on top of that, who you draft and who your opponent drafts to be on their board is going to be different, or could be different every single time. So the replayability of this is huge. This I can't say enough good things about this game. I loved it. I played it once. I I looked through the cards that he had made for the different characters and looking through them like, man, I want to play with this kid. This guy. This guy looks really cool. And oh man, there's this one. Ooh, this one looks really tough. I could see how I could use this one with this guy over here and make a nice little combo if I could get these two spells to go off at the same time. Like kind of like we had talked about a couple episodes ago when we talked about the breaking down board games and studying them to find the different things that you could put. This game, this game would live for that. Just and that's the other best part, or the other part of this that is really kind of cool is this game has the ability to be added on to over and over and over again. When I was talking through how many people he thought could play this game, He said currently they've written the rules for a 1v1 situation and a 2v2 situation. And so we kind of talked through it a little bit, and I suggested that they look into adding a 4-person free-for-all. You already have a situation where you have 2v2 and you're attacking the group across from you, and you have 2 people on the same team. It shouldn't be too difficult to be able to merge that with the 1v1 set of rules to get a 4-person free-for-all. I would recommend it something like that. But I even told him, I'm like, with the way this game plays, if you have enough characters, you could probably play this game with as many people as you wanted. As long as you had enough characters for everyone to have, you could have a massive battle of 10, 12 people just attacking. I'm going after that guy. No, no. And then this guy's coming after you. And you got to watch out for this guy over here. He's being quiet. He's only doing a little bit of stuff. He's building something up over there. Hey, guys, we should gang up on that guy. I mean, the depth that this could really bring, it's this game has a lot of potential. It is only an alpha right now. It is not out to be purchased. They are working on. They're talking to some investors. They're talking to some publishers. So they're still in the works of everything to try to get this going. They're hoping for. I believe they're shooting to have it out there in some form by 2020, whether that's getting it up on Kickstarter and trying to self-publish it, or getting a publisher to back them and help bring this game to market. I highly recommend it.
And stay tuned to Geekvice for more updates, apparently, because we'll probably be in the know.
Yep, that's my hope. They're hoping to have some little bit higher quality alpha style prototypes made. Maybe more like beta style, because I think they're kind of in alpha style right now. But next level prototypes put together, and I'm hoping that I get on that list. If I do, stay tuned, because I will have might have to have a little get together and have people come over and try this game out, because it is a lot of fun. It's a sign of a good game when you get done playing. Talk about it. You go back to we did this over lunch at work. I go back to work. Then that evening, I'm sitting there going, "Huh. I wonder if you could bring that game in tomorrow and I could play it again."
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I could play this game. Heck, when I got done playing, I kind of wanted to play again, but I knew that we only had the conference room for an hour, and I'm not sure we were going to be able to get a second game in before we got kicked out of there for a meeting. But yeah, this game was. I wanted to play it again, and I still want to play it again. So that is a good sign. This is not a game that I turned around and went, "Oh, that was a really good game. Maybe I'll play that again sometime." I got done playing the game and I wanted to go play more. So to me, that's a sign of a board game that's got some potential.
Got some staying power, that's for sure. If you want to play it more than once.
So yeah, head on over to Facebook and look up Brimstone Valley. You can look for it at Brimstone Valley Game on Facebook. Stay tuned there. Follow them. The creators are Isaac Willem, Jonathan. Oh, I just clicked on the button and it just went away. Jonathan Miller, Seth Brooks, and Ann Brooks are the 4 creators to this. They've got it listed here as coming 2020. I'm hoping so. I'm excited for it, and looking forward to what else they do. If it comes to a point where they are looking for testers or need people to meet up with them to beta test this game or to try it out, some gameplay sessions, and you're interested, watch our Facebook page, and I will post up little meet things on there when I know about them. So
Very good.
there you goes, everybody's.
A little bit of what we're watching, a little bit of board game action, a little bit of home improvement. We have everything. Geekvice has it all.
We went all geek tonight. Geeked about everything. If you need a sink fixed, call Kip. He'll fix it. Maybe.
No, he won't.
So you're saying you're not quitting your day job to become a plumber?
This is a true statement.
All right, everybody. You know the deal. It's that time again. Go check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Geekvice. You can follow that man over there, right there, at Kip Killigan. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just head over to the Facebook page, click YouTube, subscribe right there. Or you can go to YouTube and search for Kip Morph. Easiest way to find us. There's only one Kip and Morph out there. And of course, as always, you can reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Done.